What's going on, guys? So in this video, I'm gonna show you how to prevent your hips from shooting up in the sumo deadlift. It's called a hip hike. Just to show you what it looks like. A lot of people, when they sumo deadlift, they'll be here, they'll be down at the bar, they'll be ready to lift, and as soon as they initiate the lift, they'll do this, and before the bar comes off the floor, you'll see their hips shoot up, and then they come up with the bar, which is, number one, it's very stressful for your lower back, because that whole time when you're here, when your hips shoot up, all the stress is coming on your lower back. And then number two, it's just a massive energy leak. You're having a lot of movement and the bar hasn't even come off the floor yet. So what I want to show you how to do is how to lift as much weight as possible, as efficiently as possible, so you're not going to get hurt and so you can produce the most force and have the best force transfer. So a lot of people, there's a lot of different reasons people will say that they have the hip hike, or what muscles they say. If your hips are hiking, then you have weak muscles. What they'll say usually is you have weak glutes or you have weak abs. They're not wrong necessarily, but the reasoning is wrong, and I'll explain why. When you're here in this position, this is a bad leverage point for the sumo deadlift, especially if we're talking about raw lifters. What I mean by that, a geared power lifter who are wearing extra supportive gear. When they're here, sometimes what they have to do is they have to be here and they literally have to pull themselves down. But if you're a raw lifter, you're just like wearing a t-shirt and shorts, you're not wearing any extra supportive gear, this does not make the most sense, because what this is essentially, this position is a squat, right? If I didn't have this bar here, like this is how I would be squatting. That's not a deadlift. The squat is more knee dominant, the deadlift is more hip dominant, and that's what we want, what the position we want to get you in. So from here, if you're in this position and you're deadlifting and your shoulders are behind the bar and your hips are really low, this might look pretty, this might look nice, but it's not where you want to be. You actually want to get your hips up higher. And what that's going to do is it's going to put your hips in the position that they're hiking to. So think about this, watch this movement. If you're here and you go to move and you go to pull the deadlift and your hips hike, your hips go to exactly where they should be in the first place. And a lot of times what will happen is the first rep is the hardest rep. So they'll be here, they'll hip hike, come up, do that, and then every rep thereafter is significantly easier. They're starting where their hips should be from rep number one. And that's what I want you to do. Instead of trying to figure out, well, your glutes are weak or your abs are weak, what I want you to do is just get in this position and then elevate your hips until where they're going to be when you hike them. This is now your starting position. This is where you're going to be the strongest. This is where you can push through the floor, come all the way up, lock your knees, and finish strong. The other thing I want you to pay attention to, when people say you have weak abs, that's why your hips are hiking, they're not necessarily wrong. Usually what's happening is people aren't bracing properly. And what I want you to focus on is when you're in the bottom position, taking a big breath into your belly, big breath, squeezing, and now with a full breath of air, full belly full of air, now you can pull and come up. So I'm going to show you what a bad rep looks like. When you're here, you pull, hips hike, then come up. Again, bad rep is going to be pull, hips hike, then come up, versus a good rep where you just start with your hips where they should be in the first place, and it's just one efficient movement. So the long story short for this is, if your hips are shooting up, instead of trying to fix your glutes or fix your abs, just get your hips up a little bit higher. Start with your hips in a higher position, and that's going to help you with this inefficient force transfer. I hope this video helped. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. If you aren't subscribed yet, please subscribe to my channel. And if you have any questions or comments, leave them below. I'll be in there answering every single one. Talk to you soon.